ways to spend your leisure. First, in Britain, a crew of rowing enthusiasts from Oxford University set out for a day on the River Thames, attempting to row the 110 miles from Oxford to London in under 16 hours. Here's how they got on.
Five in the morning at Oxford, 9 men prepare to beat a 150-year-old record for rowing from Oxford to London. The time limit, 15 3/4 hours, with no rests on the schedule.
Are you confident in your own stamina?
Not just at the moment. I only started rowing with this 8 on Monday, and I haven't rowed for a week, but I think I'll make it quite.
What's the longest you've ever rowed for before?
25 minutes.
John Newth, 20 years, Lincoln College, rowing 4 in the boat.
What's the longest you've ever rowed for before?
Well, we rowed upstream, stopping for one lock, I suppose, about an hour and a half, all told. So that's the longest I've ever done. And then, of course, we've been training here. We did 15 miles the other day, which helps.
Do you think you'll last out?
Well, I've just been saying, the great advantage of starting at this time is I personally shan't be awake before Wallingford. So I think I might last till then anyway.
Then the captain's briefing.
You're at Teddington?
Yeah,
Teddington. Okay. First thing about the schedule. Now, this schedule doesn't allow any leeway at all. We've got to be extremely minute conscious over this. It's no good being 10 seconds late to the lock and thinking that's all right. We've got to be dead on time the whole time. The second thing is this: that during the afternoon the sun may come out. The sun may come out a bit, and it's going to be pretty hot and sweaty and all the rest of it. And particularly around Windsor, that sort of area, about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, we're going to feel that, you know, perhaps it isn't quite worthwhile breaking the record at all. Can we, at that point, particularly avoid things like grumbling, cursing, swearing? Why isn't he sending down a bigger puddle than me and all the rest of it?
So 8 men and a cox with very little training but supreme confidence get ready for the most grueling day in their life. Will they make it? With London 111 miles away by river, the boatman wasn't confident.
What the main difficulty is going to be?
Well, I think the main difficulties will be blisters on their hands.
Any special difficulties on the course itself?
Well, the main difficulty on the course itself will be later in the day when they get the traffic moving on the river. They get cruisers up and down that's got tremendous wash coming from them, and they could ship a lot of water.
The greatest time wasters on the journey were the locks. There are 32 between Oxford and London, each taking at least 3 minutes to clear. The 9th lock was at Goring, almost a third of the distance, and the crew were only 2 minutes behind schedule, after 3.5 hours. But all the lock keepers had been warned in advance and had very helpfully kept all locks clear for the crew. If they were behind on their schedule, it wasn't through being kept waiting at the locks. In fact, the lock stays were in a sense all too short. It was only then that the crew's supporters could rally round with glucose and sticking plaster. Several of the crew had already got blisters before they started, and from Goring there were another 75 miles for the blisters to get worse as the sun grew hotter. It was still only 9:30, and that left another 12 hours rowing. Half an hour after Goring, the boat was at Whitchurch Lock near Pangbourne, but it was a half-hour rowed entirely according to schedule, and the crew were still only 2 minutes behind the time they had set themselves. This wasn't too bad for a scratched crew, 2 of whom had been brought in only after 2 others had resigned just over a week ago. These were the only 2 who went from one college, Lincoln.
Very good. Start and stern, work up and down. Can you draw across this side a bit?
I can't do anything about when I talk.
Hellish heavy pole.
Where's the other drink? Where's the other one?
I've got some here.
The water one here.
After Whitchurch, only 2/3 of the distance was left, though, as the captain had warned the crew, it was the last third that was going to be the sticky one. But at least after Whitchurch, they got back to schedule, for a time anyway. The most usual way of getting downriver from Oxford to London is the motorboat. More comfortable, but in fact slower than a racing 8. Motorboats are limited to 8 miles an hour. Racing shells can manage 12 miles an hour if the motorboats allow them. Henley, the halfway point and a home from home for boating crews. Perhaps that was one of the reasons why the crew had a brief collapse there. But there was the extra reason that the sawbow rubber with which they'd lined their seats was beginning to wear thin, and the town had to be scoured for extra cushions. Not the kind of luxury the guards crew who set the record in 1824 indulged in, but then they were all dead within 5 years of their big row. Windsor, where the captain had warned the crew their stamina might slip. It did, but they didn't give up, even though they looked 3/4 dead.
How are you feeling, Tony?
Do you want a realistic groan?
Yes?
But as ever, the relays of supporters kept up their constant flow of glucose and encouragement.
How long is this reach?
The next one is 19, isn't it? 19 and a half.
As they left Windsor, the crew were 15 minutes behind schedule. But were they in fact doing so much worse than the guards crew whose record they were trying to beat? Perhaps not, considering their average age was just over 20 and their average weight under 12 stone. The guards were older and heavier and had an additional incentive. A total of £16,000 in bets were laid on their effort. The Oxford crew were rowing only for their costs and their pride. With Shepperton, the crew passed into the really Londony parts of the river, running now about 20 minutes behind schedule, with Teddington and the tidal Thames still to come. But Teddington was their last lock. They took advantage of it to change their wet clothes and dry their blistered hands. At Teddington, they were almost half an hour behind schedule, but from there the tide was to be with them all the way. So still a fighting chance to make it, but darkness was drawing on.
Can you go a wee bit closer?
9:30 was when they were due at Westminster, but they had half an hour to make up and had already been rowing for nearly 15 hours. In the event, they failed to beat their 19th century rivals by 10 minutes. But at least they beat the 16-hour target the guards had set themselves, so a minor failure, but on the whole a major success.
Well done all!
How do you feel first arrival?
Exhausted.
Do it again?
I don't think so.
Disappointed about the odd 10 minutes?
Well, it was quite disappointment. Why, I did wonder whether we would make the whole distance at all, and having done so, I rather wish we'd done it in the time we should have done
Did you ever almost give up?
Well, when you come about 2/3 of the way, I really felt like giving up. But, I'm rather glad I carried on. It's better than giving up.
Well, we're shattered, all of us, and much as we should love to row the boat back to Oxford, I don't think we'll be doing it tonight.
Did you ever give up?
Yes, I think we all felt extremely groggy at times. In fact, it seems to run in ripples through the boat.
Can you hold that famous hand up again? The blistered one.
No, that one. If it amuses anyone.
Second view for the public.
Right, okay, it isn't particularly blistered because these chamois gloves were perfect. Still, Oliver, do you reckon you ever gave up?
No, of course. Of course, never did.
Fighting all the way. he comes from Exeter, of course.
Getting sunburned?
Oh, it's terrible. The essential thing about this is that it was a crew effort, and all of us felt pretty shattered at times, but that, we
came together wonderfully at the end.
We came to, I think we are a magnificent body of men, at least.
What's worth coming from South Africa for?
This isn't what I came from South Africa for. Certainly we don't have enough water to row in there.
What are you going to do tomorrow? Sleep.
Well, you've got a wife to look after.
Anybody in need of a box?
Is there a spare bottle?
No, there's no there.
Right, Richard.
Now, over to Paris for another method of getting away from the cares of this modern world. There's a new craze in France for playing cowboys and Indians.